How's everybody? Doing all right. Good afternoon. We want to thank everybody for being here today. You know, each month we use this time to talk about various issues that are going on in our community and where we're headed as a city. And I'm proud to say that we've had a lot of good news in this first quarter and a half of the year, and we want to continue to see that going as we get into the month of May. Certainly this morning, many of you were available to see us cut the ribbon on the new block-by-block location. This is indicative that our values and vision of revitalizing neighborhoods and streets, supporting local entrepreneurs and small businesses during the Small Business Week, and making Montgomery's commercial corridors more vibrant and welcoming remains a priority for us. What makes today's launch even more exciting is the announcement of the Open on Main Street Storefront Grant. This program will provide funding to help small businesses open in previously vacant storefronts across our city's corridors. It's not just about beautifying buildings, it's about restoring momentum to the heart of our communities and helping more of our residents build wealth and grow their communities and expand their capacity through entrepreneurship, something that's really lacking here in the city of Montgomery. When we look at other cities in our state of similar size, we want to see the small business sector grow. We want to see those entrepreneurial endeavors continue to progress. But we're also investing in walkable, dynamic spaces that serve real people and reflect the shared pride in Montgomery. So we're going to continue to not only focus on the big wins, and we are excited to see Hyundai celebrate its 20th anniversary with their family and friends just this past weekend, but we want to celebrate those small businesses and those new ventures that we all want to see come to fruition as well. Now, let me turn to public safety, because we know that's an issue that impacts every neighborhood and every family. Unfortunately, we've had several incidents over the weekend that involve gun violence, which we are always like to see reduced. We always want to see that improve in our city. But with that, we also saw our Montgomery Police Department arrest several bad guys and people who've been victimized in the community, not only in one incident involving gun violence, but also in an incident involving sexual assault. Those things are very, very important to us, and we want to continue to call on our partners in keeping this community safe to do their part as well. That's from the District Attorney's Office, which has been doing a very good job, also to our court system, which has been doing a very good job as well, to make sure that we send a message that these type of heinous acts will not be tolerated in our community. So we give our men and women in blue a lot of thanks and kudos for apprehending some of these folks, but also we give our community a lot of thanks for giving us the leads that are needed and assisting with that. And I believe that's why when we look at some of the crime stats year over year, we've seen some improvement. Violent crime is down more than 30% compared to this time last year. Nonviolent crime is down at 16%. Non-fatal shootings have dropped by more than 25%. And overall crime is down more than 18%. Now, we are not in any way remaining complacent or comfortable in this matter. We know there's a lot more work to do, but it is good to see some of these trends continuing throughout this city and throughout this community in the first part of the year. And we know that these things don't just happen by accident. They reflect the commitment of our police officers, our community partners, and the residents who are stepping up to be a part of the solution. Again, that said, we don't like where we stand in terms of the recent homicides that we've seen. We've got to do better about conflict resolution and determining ways of de-escalating situations without using a handgun or any type of gun for that matter. And we got to make sure that we focus on those things as it relates to just letting beefs go and letting the back and forth go so that a disagreement doesn't become a fatal decision. We cannot and will not walk the other way or look the other way on this because we know that each life lost is a tragedy and impacts a family. But our community deserves better, and that's exactly why we launched the Together We Rise initiative. Together We Rise is a citywide effort to reduce violent crime by targeting its root causes, especially in neighborhoods that have caused so much pain and seen so much of the suffering, in part due to generational disinvestment, in part due to lack of understanding and lack of appreciation for de-escalating many of these disagreements that lead to the actions that we tend to read about. But this is about building safer communities through prevention and not just punishment. Through this initiative, we're investing in street outreach teams, mental health services, and community partnerships that interrupt violence before it starts. We're working with youth, supporting families, and addressing trauma, because we know that long-term safety comes from long-term commitment. That's why we've increased recruitment incentives, added training capacity, and are working on new strategies to retain qualified personnel. At the same time, we're expanding our definition of public safety to include social workers, crime interventionists, and neighbors who care enough to be a part of the change that we all want to see. Because we know that true public safety is not just about stats, it really is about trust, and it really is about feel and the confidence we all have in our streets and in our community. It's about the presence, it's about the partnership, and it's about the performance from those of us here at City Hall and throughout law enforcement and throughout city government. And we're committed to doing all of these. But now we look at the positive side, and that's certainly those things that we will be announcing in the upcoming days, and that's reinvesting in our communities. Last month, we proudly reopened the Crump and Chisholm community centers. These aren't just buildings. We know that they are lifelines. They are places for recreation, for tutoring, for civic gatherings, for birthday parties, bridal showers, you name it. They're places where children and families can grow, connect, and thrive. And so this week, we'll be continuing that progress and the programmatic future of the Montgomery Forward Initiative. We'll be reopening Sheridan Heights North Montgomery Community Center after significant renovations. And then on Friday, we'll open a brand new facility, Fire Station 10. And Fire Station 10 is a $19 million investment in the community, not just in public safety, but in public spaces. And it's a statement of purpose, and it shows our commitment not only to West Montgomery, but to the community itself. And when we think about the tens of millions of dollars that are going into West Fairview Avenue, we're proud about the infrastructure work, parked at about $10 million, along with this $19 million firehouse, with about $4 million that'll be going into the farmers market, and certainly the millions of dollars that'll be going into the affordable housing just off of E.D. Nixon and Fairview, and then going west, right there at Oak Street and Fairview. We have even greater plans that we'll be sharing with you at a later date. So we think that what's happening in West Montgomery is a reemergence of this historic community, and we're proud that the city will be a part of that as a partner to create jobs, improving quality of life, and ensuring that people can utilize the firehouse not just in times of emergency, but in times of bringing the community together for meetings or gatherings as well. So those are just a few of the issues we want to highlight as it relates to public investment. But we want to make sure that as we close, whether we're talking about crime reduction, economic growth, or community investment, and certainly the things we need to do in public education, the common thread is progress with a purpose. We're not just content to manage decline or coast on past achievements. We know that in this day and age, it's all about what have you done today, not even yesterday. So we're actively engaged in making sure that not only those of us here at City Hall, but throughout the city of Montgomery, that we're acting on that every minute, every hour, every day. And we're proud of our 2,500 plus workers and employees here at the city of Montgomery and the great work that they've been doing. We know that there are challenges, but we know that our vision is clear, and we know that building a safer, smarter, and stronger Montgomery is what we all really want to see. So with that, I will pause and open it up for any questions that you all may have on any topics that I covered or anything else that may be going on in the community as well.
Mayor, we just recently passed, 100-day mark from the administration in D.C. How have you seen the policies from that administration or executive orders impact Montgomery, whether that be negative or positive?
Well, I think we've certainly seen it as it relates to the Helping Alabama Food Bank, which had its budget cut due to the Department of Agriculture cutting the budget that would go to programs like Meals on Wheels. Those programs have helped feed members of my family. They've helped feed members of my church, members of my community. When we got the call and we got the request to ask, this wasn't anything we had in the budget. This wasn't anything we planned for. We felt like we had to step up as a city. And we were disappointed to learn that the aid would potentially cut off feeding for upwards of 30% of families. Not all those families are in the city of Montgomery. A lot of them aren't. But we felt it was our civic duty to step up and make sure that we provided some funding or enough funding to offset that, what they would see from the federal cuts. And I'm glad that we were able to do that this year. We have to figure out how we go about doing that going into the next budget cycle. But, the second thing is I was disappointed by grants being cut for community violence intervention programs. Those programs are significant. They have helped us, again, achieve some of these numbers that we have, but more importantly, they've helped us start to lay the groundwork throughout this community. And for us to really see the type of violence reduction that we want to see, it takes sociologists, it takes mental health support, it takes crime interventionists to get out and be proactive on the front side of these issues that we're seeing and we're reading about on social media, read about in the news, or we hear about through the community. And I think for the Department of Justice to cut those grants was short-sighted. And I don't think that it helps cities get safer. I think it presents a problem to cities and to those in law enforcement and those who are trying to work with people of all ages who are on the margins. Those are a couple of the areas right now that we've been most impacted by. There are others that we'll be continuing to watch, but we'll continue to advocate through our congressional delegation as well as our United States senators about why we think many of the programs and funding that we received over the last several years are still needed this day, whether it's regarding public health, whether it's regarding after-school care and wraparound services, hospital-based intervention programs, and many other services. Those aren't things that the city of Montgomery has in its budget. Those are things that we rely on our partners at the state and federal level, in particular at the federal level, to really assist us with. And not having them is not only going to hurt the city of Montgomery, it's going to hurt food pantries, it's going to hurt churches, it's going to hurt other nonprofits who are doing great work in places that government just can't reach. So that's kind of where we stand right now, and we'll continue to advocate on behalf of the residents of Montgomery proactively as we deal with some of the changes that are happening in these first 100 days. Yes. Hi there. Well, I don't think the numbers are low. I think the numbers are improving based on our classes that we've gotten. Well, I don't like to get into the numbers of what we are from a police department standpoint. We're not where we want to be, I can tell you that, which is why we increased the retention bonuses and the signing bonuses, and we increased the salaries and benefits for both laterals as well as new hires. So we certainly aren't where we want to be. I think from our standpoint, we all help one another. We help out the city of Auburn during football season. We help them out on special events. So it's not uncommon for other law enforcement agencies to help out one another. for events like athletics games or big events, whether it's at the Speedway or whether it's, we're having a lot of people here for an event as well. We always are working with the Biscuits in any way, shape, form, or fashion, and we always look forward to helping out with our sheriff's department as well. So I think MPD does a great job of helping them out. I think they do a great job of helping us out. So I think that, combined, we're seeing some positive improvements, and I think certainly with the state and federal assistance as well, we're able to really track down some of these folks a lot quicker. We're proud of our closure rate. It's above the national average, sitting at around just a little bit south of 60%. I think it's about 58% right now of those that are outstanding. But we are always looking to hire new, eager public safety and public service folks in crime and law enforcement. That's an area we won't stop recruiting in, and I'm really happy for what our office has done and what Chief Grayboys and the team have done to kind of retool that. But we'll continue to work with everybody at the county, state, and federal level, and we'll cover each other's backs where we can and where needed. So whether it's at a Biscuits baseball game or Auburn football game or at a concert, we'll continue to kind of do what we've been doing. No, I think I think it depends on who you talk to. I mean, we get emails that span the gamut. We get emails, commending our police department for a quick response. We get those emails and some of those feedback via social media or otherwise that come in from a council member about someone having to wait. But that's why we're always looking to make our law enforcement more efficient, more tech savvy. So one of the things that Chief Grayboys and I consistently talk about is the use of cameras, the use of drones, investing more in technology to assist us, using drones as a first responder where necessary, where needed, to help us, whether it's regarding an accident or whether it's a fire or anything along those lines. The second part of that is also, as the city has grown, certainly we don't have the amount of police officers you had 20 years ago. People have other careers that they can choose, and a lot of people are choosing those careers nationwide. There's not a mayor in this state of Alabama that I'm aware of a major city who has the capacity that they're budgeted for. So a lot of us are dealing with challenges, again, looking at force multipliers like technology to assist us in that endeavor. But it's also why we're looking at other partnerships, such as bringing in a private force that only responds to accidents. So it's something that Chief Grayboys and I have verbally agreed on. We just haven't gotten it before the council. And this will be a unit that only responds to traffic incidents, because we have heard about the delays and we've heard that the traffic enforcement can't get to one part of the city because they're on another case. Well, if you're at rush hour or if you're after school, there may be some stretching of the traffic detail where that's concerned. So now we're looking at another partnership that will bring in a private entity to work with us on that, as we're seeing done in other cities. So we're always looking for ways to really leverage best practices in everything that we do in every department, whether it's sanitation, whether it's parks and recreation, or whether it's in public safety. And that's something that we've seen some other cities do with some level of success to reduce those response times. And that's something that I believe the city of Montgomery will see us coming on board, certainly here in the next 90 days where that's concerned. But we're grateful for everybody, for their patience, for really working with, whether it's the city, whether it's the county, whether it's the state, and everybody where this is concerned. And we'll continue to try to tweak, how we have staffing, where we see the most accidents, where we're seeing other problems like break-ins, at what time. And we'll try to, make sure not only we're adjusting to where the trends are, but kind of create some of our own trends proactively to diffuse some of that as well. Yes, sir.
Moving on to Montgomery Public Schools and the incident search that just finished up, I was just wondering if you've been in contact with or met with Dr. Bird since he started his position. If so, how was the conversation?
I have not met with Dr. Bird just yet, but I look forward to doing so. I'm sure we will in the future.
And there's been some talk of creating a hospital
but we're in the process of the legislative steps of that. It's something that we are going through the legislative reference to really hammer out some of the details as it relates to a city-run school system. I do think that for the city of Montgomery to continue to thrive and to continue to maintain the progress that we've had, economic development, we've got to restore the trust and confidence in our school system that's not there right now because of the actions of 4 members out of 7 on the board. And we've got to look at that not just being one isolated incident, but being a series of decisions that have hampered the school system for many years. So if it means that the best way for us to achieve better educational outcomes with a city school system, I'm for it. When I came before the city 5 years ago to push for an ad valorem tax increase, I said it was not just about the money, it was just as much about the decision making and the leadership that we would have. And we brought in a world-class superintendent that otherwise would not have come without that vote of confidence from the voters of Montgomery County in our school district. And that confidence is not there because of the decisions of the Montgomery County Public Schools. So we're going to push through the legislation, whether it's this session and whether there's time for it to get through. We'll see how that comes about. But if not, then we'll work on it in between now and the next session to make sure that it's just where it needs to be to gain the passage that's needed to really bring about the type of transparency and the type of trust in our school system. That is so critical. We talk about public safety, we talk about economic development. Those things are inextricably linked to educational outcomes. You can't have one without the other. So we can't expect to have a safer community and we don't have increasing number of young men and young women reading at grade level, being able to do math at grade level, and being able to take on these great jobs that we're bringing in advanced manufacturing, as well as professional services, if we don't have the stability and the leadership and the innovation that's needed in our public schools. So the legislative process is always tricky. I learned that many, many years ago. You never know quite how things are going to go in these final few days. Something that you didn't think was going to pass sometimes can be pulled out of the basket. Some things that you thought were a guarantee, sometimes, kind of placed over to the side. So we'll take it down to the last minutes and hours where this is concerned, certainly working out any kinks that we need to work out legally and legislatively. And we're going to make sure that the young people of this school district, the teachers and the staff and the parents, and I'm speaking as one, of students in our school system get the best outcome that they can possibly get. And whatever needs to be done in order to do that, I'm open for it, and I'm more interested in that happening because too much is at stake for us not to do that and for us to get involved in petty politics or personality differences in making decisions that impact not only those that have kids in the public schools, but those that don't, but still support our schools, still support public education, and still want to see this community and this region thrive. And we have to have a stable, supportive, and proactive school system in order for that to happen, whether it be a county school system or a city school system. I don't know if the bill has been filed. I know at last check on Thursday, it was in legislative reference, was my last update on that. So we'll see about tomorrow and see what happens then.
So when you're talking about the city school system, what does that look like? Is it the city takes over the county school system? Do we have two separate school systems? Like what exactly in your eyes, what does that look like?
Well, I think one is those schools that are inside the city school, the city limits would be part of the city school system. The funding follows the students. The funding follows those students that we would be educating and those teachers and that support staff that we'll be funding as well. In terms of the type of academic rigor and the type of curriculum that we want to have, it's one that is best in class. It's one that would match any school system in this community or in this state. We want to make sure that we're providing the type of education that one would get if they were paying for it in an independent school, if they were sending their kids off to a boarding school, or if they're homeschooling them. We believe that education truly is too valuable for us not to fully address head on. I believe, as someone who led the initiative to increase funding for the first time in our school district's history, that I have a responsibility to make sure, I have a vested interest to make sure that those who voted for that are getting exactly what we told them they would get, which is a quality education. And if you can't do that with the governing body that you have, then you have to change the situation and the circumstances. And I think for us, when I look at the possibility of the city schools, I'm not afraid of accountability. I'm not afraid of responsibility. I just want to be able to have some input in what that looks like. And I think when we consider the prospect of a city schools and we think about what you have in Auburn, you think about what you have in other city school systems, you see a more tightly run school system and one that is really producing the type of outcomes and results that we want to see. So no one's going to lose a job. No one's going to lose any funding from that. If anything, you're going to gain partners because there are people who will be willing to partner with us that just don't want to work and feel the confidence in the current construct of our school system as it exists right now. So I look at it as being an upside, and again, I know how the legislative process works. I worked for the lieutenant governor, I've done government relations, so I understand it better than most. And things can happen over time with one piece of legislation, and that happens. You got to be patient with it. But if it's not done in the remaining days of this session, it will remain our top priority for the next session, and whatever tweaks we have to make and whatever adjustments we have to do to really get the buy-in that's necessary and really to get the agreement that's needed for it to be a positive move for our city, then we'll do just that. Because I think that for all the things that we discuss in this community, we've got to have better educational leadership and we've got to have more stable leadership in the education space. Well, I think that as we get a little closer to the passage of the legislation, definitely we'll put that out there. For us, it's not reinventing the wheel. Huntsville City has its school system. We looked at, again, I mentioned Auburn earlier. We looked at Madison County. We looked at some of the differences in some of the city school systems that we think are leading the way, and some of the things that we would like to see, whether it's how many people are on the board, how the board is approved, what role the mayor has in that, what role the city council, the county commission, and all of them have in that, what role our private sector, what role our business community and grassroots community would have in that. So we're looking at a lot of those examples, and for legislative purposes, the main thing is to really keep it simple and to keep it in a way that we've already seen done across this state that has been productive. As we get into moving forward, then that comes after we get through the process itself. But for me, the first thing is the legislation and making sure that those in our local delegation are okay with it, and certainly those statewide are okay with it that have indicated to us that they think that may be an option that we need to pursue. Yes, sir.
I know you said you haven't met with Dr. Bird yet, but if and when you do, what are some of the top priorities that you want to speak to him about?
Well, certainly we want to talk to Dr. Bird about what his vision is for the schools and how does he plan to implement that vision. How is it similar from what we've been doing the last several years? How is it different? And then what road do we take moving forward? So that's really the basics for me and kind of what we'll be looking for whenever that conversation happens. All right? Mm-hmm. We've made some improvements there, but not enough. You know, we've got to improve that. We just had a meeting this morning about, again, how do we leverage AI to be more effective in 911 non-emergency calls. As I explained to a group of friends of mine over the weekend, you know, when something happens out here, whether it's a loud car that's screeching down or whether it's an accident that's right outside, it used to be that one person would call 911. Now, most of us here have a cell phone and most of us will call 911. That overwhelms the system, and so you can only have so many people taking on those calls. But at the same time, we've seen some very good initiatives that other cities have taken on using technology, and for us, we're trying to play a little catch up where that's concerned. We sweeten the pot as we had to do with our police officers and others in fire and rescue to try to get more applicants into the 911 pool. But I'll tell you this, 911 isn't a call center. And so it's a lot harder to fill a 911 position than it is just some call center. And I've seen that. Well, if I can go to, it's not a call center. And you don't want it being handled like a call center. I don't want it to be handled like a call center. So we're pretty discriminate when it comes to who we allow to pick up that phone. And that pool isn't as deep as we'd like. We've also leveraged some outside consulting services to help us with that call response time, and that has improved in those areas, but still not where we want it to be. So for us to now train these new recruits that we have, we're one excited that they've signed on, but we too got to make sure that they have the capacity to deal with someone calling in trauma, someone calling in distress, and that's a different type of call than when your credit card bill is overdue. That's a different type of call than when you need to call and order something online to come to your house. That's not the same type of atmosphere. So for us, we want to make sure we get the right person in, because one mistake, one detail can send that first responder just one house over. And that can cost someone their life. That can cost someone a lot more time than what we already have. So for us, it's about getting high quality people and making sure that we're using technology as a force multiplier. And in the meantime, as we see more people being interested in these, we have to look at how we improve the work environment. That was one of the things that we've heard from others, is there's a lot of mental stress when you take on a call and there's a person screaming on the other end, whether it's because of a child or whether it's because of an adult or something terrible that's happened, and how they have to deal and compartmentalize that stress that they have. And I think in years past, that probably wasn't given the most priority, but we have to do that now. And so that's also a part that we're looking into, is how do we provide that stress relief for someone who has just gone through a traumatic incident, right along with that first responder who's there in person. How do we make sure that they have time to handle that next call and to handle that next incident with clarity, because people's lives are depending on it, both that caller, those on the other end, and those who we're sending out to answer that call. So we'll continue to look at, again, things that we see from around the country, both in large cities, mid-sized cities, and small cities, whether it's, again, bringing in outside parties to assist us in those call taking, but also, again, expediting the use of artificial intelligence to help us answer some of the non-emergency calls and help us divert those calls in the right way. So that's an area that we're constantly discussing, and again, no more than 3 hours ago, we just had an in-depth conversation with the Chief of Staff about that, and what our emergency 911 director has just seen in her time visiting another city and seeing how they're doing better versus where they were about 6 months ago themselves. Yes, sir.
Mayor, you mentioned loud noises from car engines. That's something we hear about a lot too.
And people driving fast.
People drive fast.
Yes.
I was saying, two-fold question.
Yes.
People revving their engines and exhibition driving. Is the city looking at
Yeah.
addressing this?
Yeah, we saw a great ordinance passed in another city that I shared with the city council leadership about a month ago. I believe they're debating in their committee, and one of the things that we talked about was increasing the fines, increasing the length of time that a car is impounded for those that are doing participating in exhibition driving, and how we can be more aggressive in those that feel like it's okay to do donuts in the middle of an intersection, or those who feel like it's okay to drag race down one of our busy boulevards or highways, putting other innocent drivers at risk. We have not talked as much about noise reduction as much, but I think that's something for us is probably secondary to the exhibition driving, which a lot of it goes hand in hand. But that's something that we're really, really focused on. I think as we get into the summer months, it's something that I would be ready to sign off on today versus what I've seen in other cities, because that really gets the driver's attention. And even if that driver is not the owner of the car, that car is then impounded for 30 days. That tends to get people's attention because it impacts their ability to go to and from work, and obviously to take care of other things when it comes to leisure or other social activities. So the council, I know is interested. They hear about it as much, if not more, than I do. I hear it at night in my neighborhood. It was just made aware of it happening in some other places that I was not made aware of in East Montgomery off Wares Ferry Road on Saturday with some longtime residents who've been out there for 22 years. So it's happening in too many parts of the city, and I think, again, that along with the increased investment in cameras and speed cameras will help us identify those perpetrators where we may not have eyes and ears physically present right there. And that's what we want to make sure we continue to invest in all across the city. All right? So with that, okay, this will be the last one.
So you talked about people wanting to feel safe, and you said earlier that some of the crime statistics are down.
Yeah.
But there are other crime statistics that you don't know about. I mean, like business robberies and car break-ins, all of those numbers. Would you consider releasing these numbers to show where the crime stats were on all of these major, not just homicides, not just shootings, but a lot of the business crime and robberies and car break-ins and car thefts?
Well, we report all those, to Aaliyah and to the FBI Crime Statistics Bureau. So those stats are available.
You've been told that they are not.
Well, I don't know who you've been told that by.
You're saying that all of those stats have been in the past 3 years, that the city is up to date with all of the crime stats.
Absolutely, we have to report that. We can't be accredited and not report that information. So we report all that up. But I will share this. I think again, when you consider that overall crime is down more than 18%, non-fatal shootings down by more than 25%, non-violent crime down 16%. A lot of those are going to be your property crimes, although we've experienced property crime recently just at our church. So, it impacts everybody. So I don't, understand those who might say, well, they can't find it. That's reported to the FBI, whether it's good or bad. If we were going to change some numbers, we'd love to change the homicide numbers. Those are the numbers that you all talk about quite often on your station, and those are the numbers that most people discuss overall. And that's the number that impacts people the most, right, is a loss of life. And if I could change anything, it would be reducing that down to 0. But I think that when you see that violent crime is down 30%, and when you see that nonviolent crime is down 16%, that's positive. That's a good trend for us to have, and it's one that we don't rest on. We say, how can we keep it going? How can we get these numbers to be even better? And if it means working with our partners, then we work with our partners. If it means working closer to the community, is working closer to the community. But I don't have an issue about our numbers and where they are. What I tend to look at is where are we as a community? How do we look versus some of our peer cities? And then most importantly, how do we look to ourselves in making sure that we're doing everything that we can to make this a safer city?
But what we're hearing from people over and over again is they're not reporting things like car break-ins. They're not reporting things like shootings, or it's not being reported in the crime statistics, because if someone is dead or if someone is injured and there's not property damage, then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
The crime statistics and the way they're being reported by the city.
Yeah.
It's also considered vandalism, which that's a really big deal
Yeah, I don't think anybody's confusing a bullet with a spray can. So I would dispute that, and I think Chief Grayboys and his team would also dispute that. So I would dispute the veracity of that. What one chooses to report is certainly up to them. Their insurance reasons why. Sometimes there are other causes that people don't always share on social media that we find out later in the investigation of things. And then sometimes people just choose not to. I don't report every gunshot that I hear in my neighborhood, all right? So some others may, but I don't. But I will call, and that is logged into our system, and there it is. Do I file a formal report? I don't always file a formal report. There are people who tend to feel like, okay, hey, we can deal with it, and we don't want the adverse effect of, again, whether it be our insurance premium going up because of this or something changing as we deal with a car or a house or a business that we may have. But I would just say this as I close. I would encourage anybody who is interested in reporting any crime, doesn't matter how minor, to report that crime and to make sure that they share that with us so that we can take on the data and really make better decisions about how we serve and protect this community with that information. So they have not been reporting it. I would encourage each and every citizen to do just that, regardless of how minor it is. And we will certainly be on top of it, and we'll respond to it, whether that's exhibition driving, whether that's people not stopping at a red light, not stopping at a stop sign, all the way to the most egregious crimes, obviously, that we have. We want to know where things are happening, who the bad actors are, and where they're targeting, so that we can do a better job from our standpoint to address that. And that helps us, and that's how we help one another. So with that, I'll say thank you all for being here, for taking time out. Thank you for your questions, and we look forward to talking to you next time, and keep up the good work. Thanks so much. Thank you all.